Hajj. So there are three types of Hajj. We will mostly need to focus on only one of them. But just to know what the other ones are, there is three types of Hajj. Three ways of performing Hajj. All of them are completely fine. And the scholars, they differed based on the hadith, which one exactly the Prophet ﷺ did and which one is better. But we'll talk about that in a moment. So the first type of Hajj is called Ifrad. And if you remember, last week we mentioned quickly that there is something called Umrah, which is done in a few hours. Umrah is basically to make ihram and then do tawaf around the Kaaba and sa'i between Safa and Marwa. This is called Umrah. And Hajj is the actions that you will do during the days of Hajj, from the 8th day of the Qa'dah all the way up to the end of the days of Tashriq. So the first type of Hajj is basically only doing Hajj. So in the end, you don't do an Umrah. You only do the actions of Hajj. And in this case, you do not have to offer the animal sacrifice. What is this animal sacrifice called? Because a lot of people get confused. What is this animal sacrifice in Hajj called? Hadi. It's called Hadi. And the Udhiyah is basically for people not doing Hajj. Sometimes the terms might be used interchangeably. Somebody might say Udhiyah when they really mean the Hadi in Hajj, but they're slightly different. The rules can be slightly different. So basically, if you're in Hajj, the sacrifice, you would call it a Hadi. And this means like the sacrifice that you are offering along with your Hajj. And this is done individually on behalf of every person. So, for example, if a person is making Hajj with his wife, normally with the Udhiyah, if you're just not making Hajj and you're on the day of Eid, you would do it on behalf of the husband, on behalf of his wife and his kids. So one animal would suffice the whole family. One sheep, for example, would be for the whole family that you do the Udhiyah. When it comes to Hajj, every person making Hajj will offer the Hadi. So this is one of the differences between them. So you would offer the Hadi. You would pay for it to be done. Your wife would pay for it to be, or you could pay on her behalf, but she would have one done on her behalf. If you have one of your kids coming with you, for example, likewise. So this is one of the differences. This is called Hadi. So the first type of Hajj is called Ifrad. You don't do an Umrah, and you also don't do the Hadi. So we could say this one is like the bare minimum of Hajj. You only do the actions of Hajj. And this is beneficial for people who are, for example, they already live close by in the area, they live in Saudi Arabia or close, so they just come immediately the days of Hajj. They don't come early to do a Umrah or anything. They just come exactly on the 8th day, sometimes even on the 9th day, and then they just perform the Hajj and leave right away. So this is one form of Hajj. The second form is called Qiran. Qiran, I will make it easier by explaining the third one, and if we understand what the third one is, we will understand what Qiran is. So we'll jump to number 3. Tamattu' is for you to perform Umrah. We all understand what Umrah is now, right? So we perform Umrah. And then you leave your Ihram, meaning you shaved your head or you cut your hair, and you exit your state of Ihram. And at that point, you are back to normal. You are not in a state of ihram. You could cut your hair, nails, fragrance, all that stuff. Nothing is impermissible from the things of ihram until the days of Hajj. So for some people, this gap might be short. Some people, it might be long. If you do your Umrah and then Hajj comes one day later, that means you had 1 day rest. If you made your Umrah 10 days before Hajj, that means you'll have 10 days rest. So there's no specific period. But you do Umrah, then you enjoy the days between Hajj without having to be in a state of Ihram. You don't have to be limited by the state of prohibition from all the things that you're prohibited from in Ihram. That's why it's called Tamattu'. Tamattu' comes from the word of like enjoyment. Because you will enjoy this period in between, and also they have some other explanations of why it means that you get to enjoy having like a umrah and hajj done in one trip. And in this one, you have to offer the hadi. You have to offer the hadi, which is the animal sacrifice. So we all understand what that one is, the tamattu'. So you have a gap in between. So what is number 2, qiran? What is number 2, the qiran? It is that basically the same thing as tamattu', but you perform your umrah, the actions of umrah, and then you stay in ihram until hajj. You stay in ihram until hajj. So that makes sense? So which one do you want to do? 99% of the time, actually very rarely have I seen anyone else do this. Other than that, you're going to do number 3, which is tamattu'. You don't want to do number 1, because in that case you did hajj and you didn't get the reward of the umrah along with it. So most people will not choose to do ifrad if you're coming from other places, because you want to get the reward of doing an umrah too. And you may not want to do qiran either, number 2, because in this case you may be in ihram for a large number of days, which is difficult. So the best option, and some of the scholars, they said this is the best type of hajj also. So in that case, you're getting the best of both worlds. You're doing something which is easier, and also you get the more reward, or you chose the best option, which is a tamattu', which is to perform umrah, finish your umrah, escape from the ihram, and then wait until the days of hajj, which is the 8th of Dhul Hijjah, and then you start the actions of hajj again. So, yes, sure.
Is it possible to do the tamattu' and the qiran? So you do the tamattu', then you leave your ihram, then you do the ihram again, you do the umrah and for the hajj right away?
No, you couldn't combine it like that, but what you could do is, she's saying, can you combine tamattu' and qiran? You can't combine both of them, but what you can do if you want to get the reward of more umrah, for example, is you can do tamattu', and then even in the time between your umrah and your hajj, you can perform a second umrah or a third umrah. So you could do that. So that was a good question she raised. Everyone understand the question? So if you're in the days between your umrah and the hajj days, the 8th of Dhul Hijjah has not come yet, what if I want to do a second umrah on behalf of this family member and a third umrah on behalf of this other family member? You could still do that. You can do umrah in between the days when hajj has not started yet.
You cannot do like two umrahs in one ihram, right?
No. So yeah, if you one ihram means you can only do one umrah. So you have to finish the umrah, go cut your hair. Then if you want to perform another umrah, you have to go leave what is called a tan'im or Masjid Aisha, perform another ihram from there, and then do another umrah. So you have to do that every time. You cannot finish one umrah and start right away from the same place. Yes?
And his companion, what type of hajj?
He said, what type did they do? The scholars, they differed, but a lot of them said he did qiran. But the Prophet ﷺ, the Prophet ﷺ wished that he would have done mut'ah, tamattu'. He said, لو استقبلت من أمري ما استدبرت لما سقت الهدي ولا جعلتها عمرة. So the Prophet, he said, if I would have been able to do it, like going back, I would have not brought the animal with me, and I would have made it umrah. Basically, Wallahu alam, that he's saying I would have made it the tamattu' instead. So he did qiran, but he's saying I wish I would have done the tamattu' instead. So the scholars, they said, because he said I wish I would have done it, that means that this is the better action. So before we talk about hajj, we have to talk about umrah logically, right? Because we haven't got yet to the days of hajj. So we need to understand what we're going to do when we land in Mecca and we perform our umrah. So again, this might be a different number of days before hajj, depending on your package. So for some people, this might be only 1 or 2 days before your hajj starts. This might be on, like, for example, the 7th day of Dhul Hijjah. And for some of you, this might be way earlier. It might be like on the 3rd day of the Hijjah or the 1st day of the Hijjah. So it depends whenever you arrive. But you're going to arrive in Mecca whenever you arrive from Al-Medina. And we talked about last week, if you're coming straight from Jeddah, that means you are going to perform the Umrah right away. So you will perform the Umrah with 4 steps. Umrah is very easy. The first thing that you will do, so what are the things that are, first of all, like a rukun or something that you have to do? In Hajj and Umrah, they talk about rukun, and they talk about wajib, and they talk about sunan. Rukun means a pillar. It's also the same categories they use for prayer too. Rukun means a pillar. If you do not do this pillar, the action is not correct at all. And you cannot make it up. There's no way to make it up except to perform that pillar. For example, the tawaf in Hajj, in Umrah. Tawaf is one of the arkan. It's a rukun, it's a pillar. So if you miss the tawaf, there's no way to make it up except to make a tawaf. You cannot, for example, pay sadaqah or give a charity or slaughter an animal to make up for your tawaf. You have to do it. It's one of the pillars. So the pillars of ihram are the ihram, to make tawaf, and to make sa'i. Those 3 things only. As for the wajib, these are things that sometimes you can make them up if you are not able to do them. So for example, let's say you made ihram, but you made ihram in the wrong place. Like you were supposed to make ihram from a certain location, the miqat, Dhul Hulayfa. Or you were supposed to make ihram before you landed in the airport in Jeddah. But you didn't. So that's called a wajib. You missed the proper place to make ihram. So your umrah is still valid. You didn't invalidate your umrah. And in this case, there are something else you could do. For example, you could go back to the miqat and start over again. Or you could slaughter an animal for missing the proper place of ihram. So these types of things are called wajib. Wajib means that you still have to do it, but if you didn't do it, there's a way to make up for it. Usually, it would mean you sacrificing another animal. And then the third things are sunnah. So for example, drinking zamzam. Drinking zamzam during the umrah after the rak'at, 2 rak'at. This is a sunnah. If you don't do it, it's no problem. Your umrah is completely valid, and there's no problem at all. Most scholars would also say even the 2 rak'at of prayer you pray after tawaf, rak'atay tawaf. These 2 prayers, rak'ah, that you make after the tawaf, also they would say these are sunnah. That if you didn't make these 2 rak'at, that's completely fine, and your umrah is still valid. So these are the things which are either sometimes pillars, sometimes wajib, sometimes they're just a sunnah, that if you miss it, it's not a problem. So we first enter into the state of ihram. To make an umrah, we first enter into the state of ihram. One of the common misconceptions of ihram is that it means the clothing. If you put on the white clothing, that means you're in a state of ihram. This is not correct. What is actually ihram? Does anyone know? I think I mentioned this before, that's why I'm asking the question as like a test. Does anyone know what ihram really is? Because a lot of people think once you put on the white clothes, that means you're in a state of ihram. But very good. The intention. The intention is more important. The intention is more important. But you might get confused. You might say, like, aren't you putting on those white clothes with the intention of making umrah or hajj? Yes, usually. But there is some situations where you're only making the intention without the clothing. Of course, this is for men. For women, they just stay in their normal clothes. Blue, black, white, it doesn't matter what clothes they have to wear. Some women, they think you wear white clothing also to be like the men hujjaj. But that's not the case. So a woman can wear whatever normal clothes she's wearing. And the rules are different for women than men. But the ihram means the intention. So I'll give you an example. Let's say you decided to make umrah on the airplane. and or you decided to make an umrah. And when you're on the airplane, you go in your luggage to get the ihram clothing so that you can make the ihram before the plane lands in Jeddah. And you look through your luggage, and then you realize, to your shock, that you forgot to bring it with you. You forgot to bring the clothes with you, the izar and rida, the white clothing of ihram. So what do you do now? What's your options at this point? You continue with your umrah, yes. So you make the intention still. You say, Labbaik Allahumma umrah. Oh Allah, I make the intention of umrah. Are you wearing the clothes? No, you're wearing your normal shirt and pants. But you don't have the clothes of umrah, the clothes to put on. You don't have the ihram clothing to put on. So what's important is that you made the intention. If you make the intention, then you have made ihram. And the opposite would not be true if you didn't make the intention. So let's say you just put on the clothes. You put on the clothes for the izar and rida, the white clothing, and then you didn't really do anything or think anything, and then you just crossed the miqat. Have you made the intention at that point? No. So what's important in the ihram is that you make the intention that when you cross the miqat boundaries, whether by plane or by land, you make the intention. And you say that, you don't have to say the intention out loud, but it's recommended that you say, Labbaik Allahumma umrah, Labbaik Allahumma hajjan, Labbaik Allahumma umrah an abi, or so on. You make the intention that I'm doing Labbaik Allahumma, it means like, oh Allah, I'm responding to you, and then you say what you're doing. You're saying umrah or hajj, or you're saying umrah on behalf of somebody, or you're saying hajj on behalf of somebody, and so on. So that's what ihram is. And with ihram, you have a number of things that are impermissible for you. That's why ihram comes from the same word as haram. It comes from the same word as haram, meaning that certain things are haram for you. It's haram for you to put on fragrance, perfume, or cologne. It's haram for you to cut your nails or hair. It's haram to have relations, and so on. So that's number one. Yes?
So if I forget the ihram dress and make the intention normal dress,
Yes.
to make fidya?
Yes, yeah, correct. So he said, what if that example we gave, the person made ihram intention, but they didn't have the clothing? Yes, they would have to offer a expiation at that point, the fidya at that point. And we'll talk about mistakes maybe towards the end. There's a lot of mistakes a person might make in Hajj, so we'll talk about what do you do if you forgot your ihram clothing, or you put on normal clothing instead of the ihram clothing, or you cut your hair or nails. What do you do? We'll talk about that inshallah. Yes?
Quick question. So, I know that in here we are not supposed to use any fragrance, but if I wash my ihram clothing with regular detergent, it usually has fragrance. Is it okay or?
Yes, yeah. We're going to talk about that in a few minutes inshallah, but remind me when that time comes and we'll go over that inshallah. So the next thing to do in Umrah, we made the ihram and then we arrived in Mecca. By the way, do you have to get off your bus and make Umrah right away? You're in Mecca, so that means do you have to go and start your Umrah around the Kaaba right away? Or are you allowed to go to your hotel room and rest? You're allowed to rest, yeah. Some people think once you arrive, it's something you have to do, you have to go make Umrah. No, you can go and rest, you can go and sleep. Just be careful that you don't break anything that you're not supposed to be doing in Umrah, ihram. So now, once you want to go to start the Umrah, you go to the Kaaba and you start the Tawaf. Where do you start Tawaf from? Hajar al-Aswad. Yes, there's a certain place where the black stone is in the Kaaba. You start your Tawaf from there. And you go around, and there's a big green light, and you won't miss it. Everybody's, stopping at that place, so you won't miss it, inshallah. You start your tawaf at Al-Hajar al-Aswad. You go around the Kaaba 7 times. 7 times. I think we talked about this last week. You go around the Kaaba 7 times, and at this point you have finished your tawaf. This is one half of your Umrah. At this point, what do you do? Before the sa'i, we have sa'i on the screen. But there's something before that. What is before that? Rak'atain, yes, very good. وَاتَّخِذُوا مِن مَقَامِ إِبْرَاهِيمَ مُصَلَّى. Allah says, take the place of Ibrahim as a musalla. So you pray 2 rak'at. These are sunnah. These are sunnah to pray 2 rak'at of tawaf after you finish your tawaf. If you cannot pray them behind Maqam Ibrahim, then in this case you can pray them anywhere in the masjid. Meaning it's too busy, too crowded at Maqam Ibrahim. Then in this case you can pray anywhere. By the way, a lot of people ask the question, they say, this is Maqam Ibrahim where Ibrahim alayhi salam stood when he built the Kaaba. This place, you know, this little thing where they have the footsteps of Ibrahim alayhi salatu wasalam inside of it. How was he standing at this place when it's so far away from the Kaaba, right? Because it's called Maqam Ibrahim, where he was standing when he was putting the rocks on the Kaaba. How was this place so far away from the Kaaba? The answer is that it was actually right next to the Kaaba, because that's where he was, Prophet Ibrahim alayhi salam was picking up the rocks and putting them on the Kaaba. So this was called Maqam Ibrahim, where he was standing. During the time of Umar ibn al-Khattab radiallahu anhu, people would always pray right here, to pray behind Maqam Ibrahim, as Allah says in the Quran, take that place as a place of prayer. This would interfere with the people making tawaf. So some people are praying right next to the Kaaba, and some people want to make tawaf. So it's getting too crowded. So what did Umar ibn al-Khattab do? He moved Maqam Ibrahim back by many, many steps. So in that case, the people could make tawaf freely around the Kaaba, and Maqam Ibrahim was pushed back by a lot. So that's why it's not exactly against the Kaaba, as you might assume, because it was his place of standing when he was building the Kaaba. So you pray these 2 rak'at, and as we said, some scholars say to drink Zamzam also is from the sunnah of the Prophet ﷺ after this point. Then you make the sa'i. You don't have to make the sa'i right away. You could take a break. You could wait for 10 minutes, 15 minutes. You don't have to immediately go. If there's a break, it's fine. Once you've prayed 2 rak'at, and next you will go and make the sa'i between Safa and Marwa. And you always start, as Allah mentioned, with the mountain of Safa. That's why the Prophet ﷺ said, إِنَّ الصَّفَا وَالْمَرْوَةَ مِنْ شَعَائِرِ اللَّهِ. That As-Safa and Al-Marwa are from the signs of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So you start with, as the Prophet ﷺ said, أَبْدَأُ بِمَا بَدَأَ اللَّهُ بِهِ. I start with what Allah started with. Meaning Allah mentioned the mountain of Safa first in the Quran, right? Allah said, إِنَّ الصَّفَا وَالْمَرْوَةَ. So you start with the one that Allah mentioned first, which is As-Safa. You go between these 2 mountains 7 times, not like the Tawaf. Tawaf, you go back and around the whole time, 1 circuit around the Kaaba. For Safa and Marwa, you don't make that mistake of going 1 time between them and thinking that that's 1 round. What do I mean by that? I mean, you would go from Safa to Marwa, this is 1. Marwa to Safa, this is 2. 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So where would you end up at the end? Marwa, yeah. You should end up at a Marwa. If you didn't end up there, you made a mistake. You got lost somewhere. By the way, what do you do if you are uncertain of the number that you have done? So you don't know, did I make 6 tawaf around the Kaaba or 7? You underestimate. You underestimate. So you say, I'm not sure if I just finished tawaf or did I only do 6. So in that case, you're doubtful, you lost count, you weren't counting properly. Just make another one, just to be on the safe side. To say, okay, now I'm certain that I made 7. And you don't have to make like salah, you have to make sujood as-sahw. This case, you don't have to make sujood as-sahw. At this point, once you made the tawaf, you prayed the 2 rak'at, you made the sa'i between Safa and Marwa, you're done at that point. You are done. So what do? It's called tahallul. Tahallul basically means escaping from your state of ihram. For men, what's their 2 options? What's the 2 options for men? Shaving or qasr Allah. Yeah, she's saying, could you cut your nails? No, it's better to, before you cut your nails or put on fragrance, to shave your head first. So we said shaving your head or trimming your hair. Remember we said that with men and women, sorry, sometimes I say we said and I'm not sure if we actually said it. We did another program recently in Masjid al-Nur, so I don't know, sometimes if I just said it last week or if I said it a while ago, I got mixed up. So you can either do halq or taqsir. You can either shave your head for men or you can trim your head for men. For women, they can shave their head or no? No, of course not, right? So for women, only they cut qadr unmula, which means the length of one fingertip. This fingertip, like from the joint up to the top. So basically, like 1 centimeter or 2 centimeters, to grab her hair and to just cut from the end. This cutting of the hair should be from all around, according to the majority. So sometimes you'll find people at the end of your sa'i, they'll say, I'll cut your hair for you so you can exit ihram. And then they cut a few snips with the scissors for the men, and they say, okay, you're good to go. This would be valid according to some scholars, but to be on the safe side, you should cut from all around your head, not just a few parts of your hair. And you could either shave or trim it. Yes?
This experience from Umrah, there might be some kids or younger people that might try and ask you to cut your hair, but they'll ask for money at the end.
Yeah, that's true. But so in the end, you could you could go to the barber shops. When you leave, there's barber shops, and you will pay them. It's not free, but they will do a better job, and they could shave your head or they could trim your hair. If you're going to be making another Umrah or Hajj is going to be coming soon, what should you do? So if you shave your head, for example, and then Hajj is going to be starting in like a day or two, and then by the 10th of Dhul Hijjah, when you shave your head again, you might not have any hair. Or you want to do another Umrah the next day, for example. What should you do? In this case, leave some hair to be cut again. So for example, you want to make a Umrah, and then you know that you want to make another Umrah tomorrow. Or you know that Hajj is going to come in a few days, and you will not have any hair grown yet. In that case, don't shave your head. If you do, it's okay. It's not like haram or anything. But this is just a tip, that every time you want to make something else, another Umrah, for example, leave some hair so that you can cut again. You could trim your hair again for the next part. Somebody might say, this was a question, what if you're completely bald? Or you don't have any hair to shave? So for example, you shaved your head completely, and then you made another Umrah. What should you do? Or somebody said, what if you're completely bald, like not a hair on your head? This is rare, because even people usually that are bald, they will have some hair, like they have a little bit around the edges and stuff. So even if you just have a little bit of hair, you will still shave it for finishing your ihram, tawaf, or for finishing your umrah or hajj. Even if it's just a few hairs around the edge of your head, you will still shave it. If you have absolutely no hair on your head, the scholars, they say it's just recommended to like run the razor over your head. It's just recommended, but you don't have to. So at this point, we've done these 4 steps: ihram, tawaf, sa'i, and shaving your head or trimming your head. Sisters, don't shave your head, just trim it. So in this case, you're done. You have exited your umrah. Nothing is prohibited anymore. Nothing is, things are still haram, but I mean like nothing is prohibited from the normal things that are prohibited in ihram, like cutting your hair, cutting your nails, the marital relations, putting on fragrance. All of these things are permissible again. I think we talked a lot about the ihram, so we don't have to go through these in detail, but it's a state, meaning like it's a niyyah, it's an intention. More than just the clothes, it's an intention. They said, think of salah. This is a very good way to put it. So if you enter into salah, prayer, you have to make the intention, right? The intention that I'm about to pray right now comes in your mind that I'm about to pray. So same thing. I think in my mind I'm about to make umrah. You think in your mind I'm about to make wudu when you want to make wudu. If you just wash your limbs without any intention, this is not a wudu. So likewise, you make the intention that you're going to make wudu, you're going to make the intention also. Same thing here for Hajj and Umrah. Yes, she had a question about the fragrance, so we'll talk about that in a moment. First of all, what are the things which men should not wear, and what are the things women should not wear? For women, basically, they only have 2 things. The Prophet ﷺ said, لا تنتقب المحرمة ولا تلبس القفازين. That a woman who is in a state of ihram should not wear niqab and she should not wear gloves. She should not wear niqab and not wear gloves. Niqab is like the face covering. طيب, what if a woman wears niqab normally and she believes that she has to wear niqab to cover her face from men? This is one of the opinions. So how does she not just uncover her face in that case? So the scholars, they differed regarding this. What are the ways around it? So basically, that they said that she could cover her face, but not in a way that's niqab. Niqab basically means that she will be like wrapping something around her head to cover her face, and it will be tied around her head. So they said she would cover her face in some other way. If she wears niqab and she doesn't want to just reveal her face during the Umrah or the Hajj, so there are other ways. And they said that because of the hadith of Aisha radiallahu anha, she said that we would make Hajj or Umrah, and then when the men passed by, we would drape something down on our face so that they wouldn't see. So the hadith of Aisha, she's saying that we were like riding around during the Hajj, and then if we saw men nearby, then we would cover our faces. So we would have our faces uncovered, and then we would cover them during that time. Of course, nowadays it's impossible for a woman to only cover her face if men are passing by, because you're in a crowd of like 1 million people. So in this case, like we said, if a woman is wearing niqab already, then that's what she should do. If not, if she doesn't wear niqab, then there's no problem. This is another opinion amongst the scholars, so she doesn't have to cover her face or her hands. So in that case, there's nothing special she has to do. So basically, to summarize, in this case, a woman doesn't have to change any of her clothes during the ihram. She could wear her normal hijab and clothing, and she doesn't have to wear any special shoes. She doesn't have to wear anything different. She doesn't have to wear any special color. Could be brown, black, white, red, whatever. So basically, for women, we could say she doesn't have the same restrictions as on men. As for men, their clothing will have a lot of restrictions. So basically, for a man, you cannot wear any clothing which is makhit, which is fitted. And there is a very, very common misconception. You're going to hear this a lot in Hajj. A lot of people misunderstand this because the scholars are talking about one thing, and then people misunderstood it and they think it's talking about something else. The scholars, they said you do not wear something which is makhit, which means something which is fitted to your body for men. What is fitted to your body? Like, for example, a shirt or a thobe. You see how it's fitted? It has an arm here. They sewed an arm. And a shirt, for example, would be fitted to shape of the body. Pants would be fitted like that. So that's what they mean by makhit. They mean that it's fitted around the limbs of your body. It was sewn to be in this way. A lot of people misunderstand. Most people actually misunderstand, and they think this means you cannot wear something which has sewing in it, because that's the literal meaning of the word makhit, means sewn. So a lot of people will say, no, brother, you can't wear this because it has sewing in it. It has like thread in it. This is incorrect. Actually, all of our clothes have thread in it, right? It's all sewn. If it's cotton, it's something which is sewn. You're not wearing clothes that are made of like plastic that's like just pressed or printed or something. Every clothing will be sewn with something. Same thing with sandals. Somebody might say, oh, you can't wear those sandals because it has thread in it. So again, this is a misconception. It's a mistake people make. They misunderstood what the scholars are talking about. The scholars, when they say makhit, they mean don't wear clothing which is fitted to your body. So basically for men, what is that? It's almost every clothing we wear. Like shirts, pants, underwear, socks, all of these things. They are fitted around your body. So you'll notice that the izar and rida, the ihram clothing, is not fitted to your body. The picture went away? Okay, so they're on one side. So the ihram, all you do is you just throw it around your body. It's not like built around your arms or anything like that. Same thing with the izar, you just wrap it around your waist. Does that make sense? Make sense? Because a lot of people, you're going to get a lot of misconceptions like this, and people might even tell you, oh, you know, you can't wear this because it has sewing in it. That's not the meaning of the words of the scholars. So you just wear the izar and rida. And like we said, that would include even like underwear. A man would not wear underwear. We can talk later about what if you have a special circumstance. Oh, I have, you know, a medical issue. I have some, my doctor says I have to do this. My doctor says I have to wear this. If your doctor says, or you have some medical problem where you have to wear something, you have to wear underwear, you have to wear socks on your feet, you have to do this, you have to wear that, that's fine. We could talk about that later, inshallah. But this is just a general rule for most Muslims. For shoes also, you should not wear regular shoes. Also, the Prophet ﷺ said that you will wear a na'al. Na'al is like sandals. And the scholars, they differed what kinds of sandals you could wear. But basically, all of these sandals we see on this picture right here, this picture, these are all fine, inshallah. So all kinds of sandals, whether it's the kind of sandal number 1, which is called like the thong sandals, or the number 4, which is like these sandals you see here, all of these are fine. As long as, for the most part, if it fulfills 3 conditions, which is it uncovers most of your foot, which is uncovers the toes and the ankles and the heels. If your toes and ankles and heels are uncovered, then that's a sandal. So you just can't wear something that covers most of your foot. Like, for example, sneakers. You could say, oh, sneakers are below the ankles. Yes, they're below your ankles, but they're also covering most of your foot. And they're covering your toes, and they're covering your heels, and they cover the majority of your foot. So you could not wear sneakers. But you could wear all these kinds of sandals here. Inshallah, no problem with that. There are some difference of opinion amongst the scholars. What's the definition of the sandals that you should wear? But inshallah, this is the easier opinion, that everything we have on that screen, you could wear. Just avoid anything which covers the majority of your foot. For example, sandals which cover like the toes, or they cover most of the foot. Some kind of sandals are like mostly enclosed. Or for example, sneakers or shoes, which will cover most of your foot. As for like anything above the ankles, for example, like boots or high top sneakers, these will definitely be something that you cannot wear in ihram. For men also, they have something extra. So women can cover their head in ihram or no? Yes, of course, right? Sometimes I'm just seeing if you're awake or not. So women, of course. For men, they cannot cover their head. Men cannot cover their head. Men cannot cover their head, and they also, according to many scholars, cannot cover their face. But there is some difference of opinion about that. There is some difference of opinion for the face. But it's agreed upon that men cannot cover the head. So what does it mean to cover your head? You cannot wear a hat. You cannot wear a kufi. You cannot wear a turban. One of the inventions that they came up with is like the umbrella hat. You've seen the umbrella? It's like you might see it when you go there. It's like an umbrella that you put on your head and it ties around your head. This is like a hat too, so you can't wear that either. So what can you wear? You could cover your head with something which doesn't connect to your head. So for example, if you hold an umbrella over your head with your hand, is this okay? Yes, that's fine. You can hold it. Can you sit in a van, a bus that has a roof over it? Can you sit in your tent that has a roof over it? Yes, this is not covering your head. What's covering your head is that you wear something connected to your head, like directly on your head. So we said a hat or a kufi or a turban, or you wear the ghutra, or you wear, like we said, that umbrella thing. All of these things are something which is connected to your head. That's something you should not cover your head with. If you go to sleep at night, some people do this, right? So if you go to sleep and then you like to pull your blanket over your head, can you do that? What do you guys think? You say yes?
Yes.
No. So actually the answer is no. So you cannot pull your blanket intentionally over your head. Intentionally. you cannot pull your blanket and like cover your head with it while you're laying down. If you did it by accident, by sleeping, and then you pulled the blanket over your head while you're sleeping, that's fine. Because you're sleeping, it's out of your control. But if you're awake and you pull the blanket over your head, this is not permissible. So even something like that. Sometimes you see people, it's very hot and sunny, and they take their ihram, the rida part, the higher part, and they cover their head with it. And they're like, oh, they're touching it to their head to make it like to protect them from the sun. So you should tell people if you see somebody doing that no, you shouldn't put it on your head like that. You could lift it over your head, for example, or you could carry an umbrella, but you cannot just put it directly on your head to cover your head. Anything which is connecting to your head and it's like headwear, at this point is covering the head. This is in terms of clothing. We were also going to talk about fragrance. We'll skip this part. It's just like advice to just have comfortable shoes because you're going to be walking a lot. For men, to use Vaseline because when you're walking and your legs are rubbing together, it's going to burn very, very badly. So to put like something between so that it's like not friction. So mostly it's just advice, like to be healthy and wear comfortable clothing and stuff like that. For women, as we said, there's no specific restrictions except for the gloves and niqab. And that clothing should be modest, normal clothing that a Muslim woman would wear. Okay, I guess we didn't have something about fragrances. We have to talk then about the other things which are... I think we have it coming up soon. Let's see. We had something more about mahdurat al-ihram. I guess we'll talk about it when we get there. But in general, her question was, can she wash the clothing of ihram with a fragrance? Because you wash it in laundry detergent, for example, has a fragrance. This is a common issue, and I'll give you what's prohibited basically, and then that will help us to understand what's not prohibited. So the prohibition in ihram is to wear a fragrance which is a fragrance like a perfume. A fragrance like a perfume. Or to smell perfumes. So what is a fragrance that's like perfume? It is, for example, in our like modern usage, it would be perfume. It would be colognes. It would be body spray. This body sprays that has a strong, nice smell. It would be, for example, oils. You put on oils. All of these, bukhur, also lighting bukhur and like trying to get that smell from the smoke of the bukhur. All of these things are a nice fragrance, which people use to smell nice. Not everything that has a fragrance, but it's not necessarily something people would use as a perfume, is prohibited. It's better to avoid it just to be on the safe side, but it's not something that's a must. So for example, laundry detergent, it may have a light smell. Maybe some of them, yes, the smell is very strong, but most laundry detergent has like a light smell, right? So according to many scholars, this kind of light smell, which is not something that people put on as a perfume. Does anyone put on like a laundry detergent perfume? No, nobody does that. So therefore, that light smell of laundry detergent, this should be okay, inshallah. And again, maybe some detergent is very strong, so you may want to avoid that just to be on the safe side. But if it's just a light smell, and especially that smell might wear away as you pack your clothing and then like a few days later, that smell is completely gone. So that kind of light smell, which is a pleasant smell, but it goes away, and it's not something people use as a fragrance, this is okay. We have a very, very common question, which is, can I wash my hands with hand soap? Because the hand soap in the bathroom smells nice, right? Hand soap in the bathroom smells nice, but does anyone, again, like think of hand soap as a perfume or a cologne that they would wear? You don't. So even then, a lot of scholars would say, to be on the safe side, you should use non-scented soap. But in reality, if you were to wash your hands with hand soap that just smells like hand soap, it doesn't smell like perfume or cologne or oud or anything like that. It just smells like hand soap. It has a slightly nice smell, but it's not something you would like wear as a perfume. Inshallah, even that is okay. If you want to be on the completely safe side and bring some, non-scented hand soap with you, non-scented soap, non-scented things like that, that is to be on the safe side. One thing which is a middle ground is a cologne, not cologne, deodorant. Deodorant, right? Sometimes deodorant might smell very nice, right? Like some sprays, deodorants, or some deodorants, it might have a very nice smell. It actually does smell like a cologne. So if it's a very strong smelling deodorant, which actually smells like a fragrance, it smells like a cologne that a person might wear or a perfume, in that case it would not be permissible. So you should use I'm not saying don't use deodorant so that we don't have so inshallah you could still use like a non-scented deodorant. Use a non-scented deodorant in that case. But some deodorants have, again, a very strong smell. You should avoid that. So basically the rule is anything which people would use normally as a fragrance, like cologne or perfume or oils. So I'm going to ask you a few questions to see like what doesn't fall in that category. I want to brush my teeth with some mint toothpaste. And the mint toothpaste smells kind of nice, I guess. So can I brush my teeth with mint toothpaste? Yes. Nobody's going to put mint toothpaste on as a perfume. So therefore that's completely fine. I want to drink some tea with mint in it. Or it has a nice smell. This tea has mint in it and it smells very good. Can I drink that tea during ihram? Again, yes. You're not gonna think of that tea as a fragrance or a perfume that you would want to wear. So this helps to clarify the issue that if it's something which is like a perfume or an oil or a fragrance that you would wear to smell nice, you have to avoid it during ihram. If it just has a slight smell but it's not something like that, then inshallah it's okay. This is just a reminder to take advantage of the days of Mecca. These are not days that will always have the opportunity. Sometimes some people make Hajj or Umrah once in a lifetime, and you will wish that you took advantage of that one time in your life and not wasted a moment. So take advantage of it. Use it for your benefit. Use it as much as you can for ibadah and worshipping Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and not to waste a moment of time. And actually, even more so than just some people only make it once in their lifetime, some people, their life's dream is to make Hajj or Umrah. Literally their dream in life from the time they're a kid until they grow old is they wish they could make Hajj or Umrah. And many of these people can't. And they're never in their whole life are they able to make Hajj or Umrah. They never had the money, they never had the ability to go. So, imagine this person, how much they would love and dream for that opportunity that you have right now. So, every moment, take advantage of it and use it for some sort of worshipping Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Well, when should we end, Faris? Or keep going closer to Isha, or?
Whatever you feel.
Okay. All right. Let's go for like maybe a few more minutes, and then we'll open for question and answer, and we'll finish next week, inshallah. So, what are the things that we will do in Hajj? Again, Hajj starts only certain days of the year. You cannot make Hajj any day of the year. As for Umrah, you could make any time. But Hajj is only specific days, which is from the 8th of which month? What's the month called? The 8th of what month? Dhul Hijjah, don't say June. The 8th of Dhul Hijjah until which day? We have the 10th day is the day of Eid. The 10th day is the day of Eid. You have the 11th, 12th, and 13th. These are called the Ayyam al-Tashriq. So 13th technically is the last day. But you don't just do whatever you want. You have to do certain actions on certain days. Certain things you do on certain days. So this is an overview. This is an overview of what we will do during the Hajj. And then we'll go into detail. And if you ever forget anything, you don't remember everything that we said here, inshallah, your group always will, they'll give you all the activities you should be doing step by step. So you won't miss anything, inshallah. On the eighth day of the Hijjah, you will go to a place called Mina. And Mina is this eighth day of the Hajj is considered to be a sunnah, recommended day. Meaning that if a person was late, for example, let's say you're late, your flight was late or whatever. So you missed the eighth day completely, you didn't get to go to Mina, you only went to Arafah the next day. Your Hajj is completely fine. So the eighth day of going to Mina on the eighth day, this is a sunnah. As for the ninth day, which is the ninth of Dhul Hijjah, which is the day of Arafah, this is a rukun, a pillar of Hajj. This is actually the most important part of Hajj. The Prophet ﷺ said, Al-Hajju Arafah. If you miss this day, you missed Hajj. Imagine you've traveled from like months to make it to Hajj, and then, subhanAllah, if you were held up or late or delayed or something, if you miss this day, your Hajj is not valid. So you have to try to make Hajj another year. So it's very, very important. That's why the scholars, they even said, if a person had to make Salat al-Khawf to be able to make it to Arafah in time, they could do that. You know what Salat al-Khawf is? Like the prayer out of fear, like during a battle. A person could pray in a battlefield with their weapons, or they could pray while they're walking or in the battle. So they said if a person thought that they could make it to Hajj by the ninth day, and they pray the prayer of fear to make it in time, like they're on a horse, for example, and they're running with the horse, and they're praying their prayers just on the horse without stopping, this would be permissible. Because if you don't make it to Arafah, then you didn't make it to Hajj. And the scholars will talk about what do they consider making it to Arafah. And basically the bare minimum is that you stand in Arafah for 1 moment. Even if you just stood in Arafah for a minute, that's enough, that's sufficient. For 30 seconds. But there's a sunnah also of how long you should stand. After Arafah, on the time of after Maghrib has come in, you should go to the place called Muzdalifah. So this is after the 9th day, this is the beginning of the 10th day, right? Like the Maghrib time. But in Muzdalifah, you don't pray Maghrib and Isha in Arafah, you go to Muzdalifah and you combine Maghrib and Isha there. And you will sleep there. There's no specific act of worship in Muzdalifah. Then you have the day of Eid. So you come back from Muzdalifah, back to where? Back to Mina. You have now the day of Eid, the 10th day of Dhul Hijjah. This is the busiest day of Hajj. You have a lot of things to do. You have to stone the Jamratul Aqaba al-Kubra, one of the Jamrat, you stone it. You will cut your hair. You could make tawaf al-Ifada on this day. And there's a lot to be done on this, and your sacrifice will be done on your behalf. The hadi will be sacrificed on your behalf. By the way, if you've never gone, you might wonder, like, where do I go and sacrifice an I don't know how to slaughter an animal, for example. You don't have to worry about that. You don't actually have to go and do it with your own hands. They have slaughterhouses where they do it on your behalf. Or you paid somebody to do it on your behalf. So you're not actually gonna go and sacrifice the sheep by yourself, and you might not know how to do that, so don't worry, it's done for you. Somebody will do it for you. You don't even see the process. So this is the busiest day. The day of Hajj, the day of Eid for most Muslims is, relax, go to the park, have fun, go to John's Incredible Pizza or whatever. For the Hujjaj, they have a long day. They have to go and stone the Jamrah, but it still feels enjoyment. You still feel the celebration of Eid because you get to come out of your ihram partially. What's called like the lesser tahallul, which is you mostly get to come out of your ihram, except some things are still prohibited. By the way, before I take the question, do you pray Salat al-Eid Do you pray Salat al-Eid in Hajj? No. Yeah, you're right. So we don't pray during Hajj. You don't pray Eid. You don't have to pray the Eid prayer, and it's not even sunnah to do during Hajj. Yeah. That was your question? Okay, good. I read your mind. Then after the 10th day of the Hijjah, which is, we said, one of the busiest days, where do you go for the next 3 days? You stay in Mina. You stay in Mina. So you're in Mina on Eid, and then you stay in Mina for the 11th, 12th, and 13th. And we'll talk about what to do on every single day, one by one. I think we'll keep it for next time, inshallah. So we'll go the next time. We'll talk about what you do on the 8th, 9th, 10th, and then the days of Tashriq. And then also we'll talk about mistakes. What to do if you pulled some hairs, if you cut your nails by accident or on purpose, if a person made this mistake or that mistake during Hajj. Inshallah, we'll take those issues next week, inshallah. And that'll be our last class, inshallah. Any questions before we end? Yes.
So if I want to do some extra umrah, not part of the Hajj,
Yes.
do I need to cut the hair every time?
Yes, yeah, correct. So if you want to make a umrah, another umrah, in this case, you will have to cut your hair every single time. So basically, every single umrah, you will have to go to Masjid Aisha, which is called the Tan'im, to go outside the borders of the Haram. So you go to that masjid, you make a new ihram, you make your umrah, finish your umrah, and you have to cut your hair every single time. So if you want to make a umrah, you have to do all those steps. And then if you want to make a second umrah, you need to go to Masjid Aisha again and do all those steps again, and so on. Yeah, and you need to cut your hair every single time. If you again you want to do that, you should leave some hair to be cut for the next time around.
Size like a minimum, how much?
Yeah, no, just any like trim, even if it's just a tiny trim, that's fine. Yes.
There's a quick question about Umrah besides Hajj. Is there any limit on the amount of Umrah?
There's no limit. He said, is there a limit on the number of Umrah? There's no limit. As we said, I think we talked about it last week, or somebody asked a question, like, is it not sunnah to make a lot of Umrah? Some scholars said you should not make more than one Umrah in one trip. If you made one trip to Mecca, you make one Umrah only. But many other scholars, they said, no, it's fine, that you can make more than one Umrah. And that's the opinion that, inshallah, we're going to go by. And also because many of us, as we know, we said we only have the chance to make this trip once in a lifetime, maybe. So if you want to make it once in a lifetime, you want to take advantage of it. So there's no limit. You could do 2 or 3 or 4 Umrah, whatever you're able to do.
I went to Umrah one time and I stayed in Makkah for about 5 days.
Yes.
Every day I did Umrah.
Yes, mashallah. Yeah, he said if he made Umrah every single day while in Mecca, that's perfectly fine. No problem. For me, mashallah, your uncle has energy. For me, I don't have the energy. I make the first Umrah and I'm like exhausted.
So that easy, but I did it.
Yeah, it's very. Even sometimes we had people in our group, they want to make like a lot of Umrah, second one and a third one and a fourth one, but you start to see that they're getting sick, and so we told these people like save your energy. You don't want to wear yourself out and then you get sick during the days of Hajj because you overexerted yourself and then you didn't leave any energy, so you got sick during the most important days, which is the days of Umrah, during the days of Hajj, excuse me. Yeah. Any other questions? Yes.
It's 2 questions. ما هو الغرض من الهدي? What's the purpose of hadi?
The hadi is like the udhiyah. She said, what's the purpose of the hadi? The hadi is like the udhiyah that we do when we when we are not in Hajj, when we're in the day of Eid. The hadi is to thank Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, لِتُكَبِّرُوا اللَّهَ عَلَى مَا هَدَاكُمْ وَلَعَلَّكُمْ تَشْكُرُونَ. And it's a way to thank Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. وَالْبُدْنَ جَعَلْنَاهَا لَكُمْ مِنْ شَعَائِرِ اللَّهِ لَكُمْ فِيهَا خَيْرٌ فَاذْكُرُوا اسْمَ اللَّهِ عَلَيْهَا صَوَافٌ. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said it's from the sha'air, from the signs of the religion. And all of that meat is distributed to the poor people of Mecca, is given to the poor. So that's the meaning of the hadi, is to thank Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and to distribute the meat and to help the poor people.
Is it a part, a rukun of the Hajj?
It's not the what?
Is
That could be part of it. It could be part of it. I don't know a specific hadith that says that, but it's definitely related. So she's saying, is it related to the story of Prophet Ibrahim alayhi salam when he was ordered to sacrifice Ismail, and then Allah told him or gave him the sheep, the ram instead. وَفَدَيْنَاهُ بِذِبْحٍ عَظِيمٍ. So definitely they're related. These two things are related. I don't know like a specific hadith that says we slaughter because of that, but it's the sunnah of the Prophet ﷺ, and this is relating to that also. Yes.
The hadi has to be in Mecca, or it could be anywhere in the world?
No, the hadi in Hajj has to be done in Mecca. You don't do it anywhere in the world. So you don't do the hadi of Hajj and send the money to Somalia or Bangladesh or some other poor country. No. It should be done in Mecca only. Yes.
So if you are in the state of ihram and by mistake or even intentionally you kill some animal or especially the insects or anything like that, what is the ruling on that if that happens to you?
So we'll talk again about mistakes a person should make might make, but insects are different. So if there's an insect which is harmful to you, it's permissible to kill it, even in the state of ihram. So for example, like there's something that will sting you or bite you or something like that, you could kill it. But as for just insects, like a lot of times you see in the haram these, what are they called? Like locusts. There's those, some years, I don't know, you guys made Hajj or Umrah a few years ago, there's like thousands of them, these like crickets, like grasshopper type things. Locusts, yeah. So those kind of things, you shouldn't kill them. They're from the animals that you should not kill. So if it's a non-harmful animal, you should not kill it on purpose. Any animal, you should not kill on purpose, even something as small as these grasshoppers or these crickets. But what if it's like a harmful animal, like some kind of insect that might sting you or might bite you? In this case, you could kill it, and there's no fidya required. But if you do kill something which is impermissible for you, then in this case, the scholars, they mentioned that you give like the value of another animal, like what's similar to it. So they said, like for example, if you killed this animal, you have to sacrifice this animal in place of it. So they mention like all the animals and what you might sacrifice instead because of killing it. Yes.
So during ihram, right, say my clothes are maybe not too many options, right? So during using bathroom, if I feel like my clothes is not pure, right, what should I do?
So in that case, a person, just to prepare for that, he's saying, what if you got like impurity on your ihram clothing or something like that? You can change or wash your ihram clothing. So you could, for example, if you bring like a spare clothing of ihram, and then you felt like your clothing of ihram is not clean right now, or it got impurity on it, or it's just not clean from all the sweat and stuff, you can take it off and put on a new pair of ihram clothing. That's perfectly fine. So you don't have to stay in the same pair. You could change it or wash it. All of that is fine, inshallah. Yes?
I'm not sure if you already talked about it. Can you tell us a little bit how to pray in plane about direction and timing and all these?
Yes, that's a good question, and maybe we'll end with this, inshallah. She said, how do we pray on a plane? So we have a number of options here. Of course, we're assuming that you cannot pray on the ground. Because if you can pray on the ground, you should wait till you can pray on the ground. So for example, if the plane is going to be landing, and you could pray Maghrib and Isha when you land, combine them, in this case, it's better to pray on the ground, because you can fulfill all the conditions of prayer. What should you do on a plane? You should first of all try to pray the prayer perfectly, which means standing, and you make ruku' and sujood and all the parts of prayer. And facing the Qibla. And this might be possible sometimes. Like the only airline I know that is like that, that has a musalla is Saudi Airlines. So in that time, you can go in the musalla and you can pray with all of the conditions of prayer. You can make ruku' and sujood and standing during the prayer and face the Qibla even. A lot of other airlines too, if you go in the back of the plane, for example, you might be able to pray. You might find a place to pray. Let's say we're not able to do that. If you're not able to find a place to pray, in this case, you should pray as best as you are able to. So for example, some flights, they will say, oh, there's no place, you can't pray in the corner, you're not allowed, or whatever. They might stop you or say you can't. So you don't want to get, you don't want to get tackled in the middle of your trying to pray in a hallway or something like that. So if it's not allowed or you can't, so you فَاتَّقُوا اللَّهَ مَا اسْتَطَعْتُمْ, as Allah says. So you go to the next option, which is prayer in your seat. That's the best you can do. So in that case, you also will do as much as you can. So for example, let's say, you're able to stand, but you're not able to make ruku' or sujood. So in this case, you stand when you can. You stand up in your seat, and then when it comes to ruku' or sujood, you're not able to do that. So you just sit down in your seat and you make the motions of ruku' and so on. Why? Because as Allah says in the Quran, فَاتَّقُوا اللَّهَ مَا اسْتَطَعْتُمْ. You are not able to pray fully in the correct positions, so you do whatever you can. Let's say you couldn't stand either. The ceiling is low, so in this case, you will pray the whole prayer seated. You will sit down and then just make the motions of making ruku', and then you rise up from ruku', and then when you make sujood, you go even lower like that. So again, basically to summarize, if you're able to pray outside of the plane, then you should delay it till you're outside of the plane. If you cannot, because you would miss the prayer time, then in that case you could pray fully if you can on the plane. Like we said, you could go in a corner somewhere if you can pray fully. If you cannot do that, you go to the third option, which is you pray in your seat, and you do as much as you can. If you're able to stand, then you stand. If you're not able to stand even, then you just pray the whole prayer seated. The second issue is, what about timing? When do I pray? This is a tricky one. So basically, some prayers are easier than others. And the way to pray is by simply where you are at that moment, not where you started and not where you're landing. So some people said, oh, I'm leaving from San Francisco and we're going to Jeddah. So do I follow San Francisco prayer times or Jeddah prayer times? What's the correct answer? Neither. No, so neither. You pray where you are at that moment in the sky. In the sky. Some scholars have different opinions, but this is inshallah a stronger opinion. You pray where you are at that moment. Not your beginning destination, nor your ending, not your beginning where you left off, nor your destination. You pray where you are at the moment. So you're in the middle of the ocean, for example. You don't know where exactly you are, but you look out the window. If it's, for example, it starts to get dark right now, it's starting to get dark, the sun is setting, you pray Maghrib and Isha, combine them, because you know it's Maghrib and Isha time. And once the sky is dark like this, you know that Isha time has entered. You could combine the prayers also. طيب. In the morning time, you look out the windows and you can see that the sun is starting to rise. If you look out the window and okay, the sky is getting brighter. It was nighttime and now the sky is getting brighter. Now you can pray Fajr prayer. The tricky prayer is the Dhuhr and Asr, because you cannot really tell very well if it's Dhuhr time or not. So in this case, it's better to wait until you know it's towards the end of time, like where the evening will be approaching soon. In this case, you can combine Dhuhr and Asr. So basically, to use the looking outside and to tell if it's nighttime, you could combine Maghrib and Isha. If the nighttime is starting to go and you look outside and it's Fajr time, you'll pray Fajr. And then Dhuhr and Asr could be later, delay them later until you think it's close to that time. Some people also, there's different ways. Like for example, on the plane, sometimes it'll have a map which will tell you night and day. So that also will help you sometimes. Also, you could use the local cities. Sometimes, like for example, if you say, we're flying over London right now. One brother was telling me, like he said, if I would look at the city and then search on my phone if I have Wi-Fi and say what time is prayer times in London. And this would give you, like, what's the local time right now? So some people also do that. But just to make it easy, if you just look out the window, a lot of times you will figure out what time it is. Allah. Yes?
Sometimes when we come from Pakistan, for example, we do Fajr over there.
Mhm.
When we arrive in San Francisco, it's Zohar, the same day.
Yes. Yeah, so when you're flying east, the prayer times will come very quickly. When you're flying east, like you're going to the Middle East, the prayer times will come very quickly one after another. Like he said, when you're flying west, it's very slow. You're going against. So in that case, like he said, you might pray Fajr where you left in Pakistan or Saudi Arabia. By the time you get to America, it's still not even Dhuhr time yet. Same day, yeah. So in that case, you don't have to pray any extra salah. Even though it's been a 15-hour flight or 16 hours, normally you would have prayed a lot of prayers. You don't have to pray anything. You just arrived, and it's still not even Dhuhr time, for example. Yes.
So when we combine, say, Zohar and Asr,
Mhm.
we pray 2 rakah,
Yeah.
Maghrib and Isha.
Yes, correct. So the prayers which can be combined are Dhuhr and Asr. You pray them 2 rak'at each, 2 and 2. Maghrib and Isha, you can combine them. You pray 3 and 2. 3 for Maghrib, you cannot shorten Maghrib, and 2 for Isha. Fajr, you can't combine it with any other prayer. Yes.
Sheikh, you said that men, they cannot like cover their feet, but for women, because they're gonna be like maybe they should not show their feet, so they have to be having socks. Is it okay for them to do the masah on their socks, and what are the options or
Yes, so
the things that they have to take care of?
So for women, as we said, there's no restrictions on what they wear for their shoes, like meaning they can wear their normal shoes. And she said, could they wear socks and they do wipe on the socks and everything like that? Yes. So according to the majority of scholars, they say that a woman should cover her feet. The Hanafi madhab says a woman doesn't have to cover her feet in public, but the other 3 madhabs say she does. But if she's wearing socks and shoes, for example, during the ihram or any other time besides the ihram, she will wipe on her socks. Basically, to summarize, it's if you've made wudu and you washed your feet and then you put on the socks, you can wipe on those socks. For 24 hours if you're a resident, or for 3 full days if you're a traveler. For 3 full days if you're a traveler. And you wipe on the socks 1 time from above, not 3 times. Just 1 time from above the sock, and not on the bottom of the sock, and that's how the wiping is done.
And the sock has to cover where exactly?
The sock should be at least above the ankle. And all the other conditions, there's difference of opinion amongst the scholars, but inshallah the opinion that many of us go by is that it doesn't have any particular conditions. Other than being like above the ankle, it's okay if it's thin or thick or whatever, or there's some slight holes in it, or there's not holes in it, all of it is fine, inshallah. There's no like specific conditions for the socks. Wallahu a'lam. Any other questions before we end? Barakallahu feekum. And inshallah next week will be the last class. And then we should be going to Hajj at that point. Inshallah. Yassar Allah. Barakallahu feekum. Assalamu alaikum. جزاكم الله خير.